Hello, everyone, and welcome to another technical live stream here at the Wized channel. Today, we are continuing building subscriptions into the Webflow, Wized, and Supabase community forum that we are building. The previous live stream, we started doing this. I think that today we are already in the 11th session of this project. We're almost reaching the end, I promise you. um, so today we're just going to continue where we left it in implementing subscriptions. So in our community forum, we can have free users and paid users, right? The first session last Friday, we worked on essentially generating a checkout. So we can grab the user, we can generate a checkout link and send the user to Stripe so they can pay. Now, we still have to do a bunch of things because we don't have a UI for this. We still are not managing what happens after the user has paid. We need to update the database, reflect that the user is now a premium user. It should be able to access gated categories. And then also we need to implement all this logic in Wized. So if there's a category that it's supposed to be premium, we need to check for the user to be premium to give access to him. So we still have a lot of work to do. I think that today we're going to be able to finish most of it, but if not, we're gonna finish it next Friday. So it's all good. So what I want to do, well, first of all, I want to say hi to Silso. Thank you for coming. Hey, Silso. Um, I want to just do a quick recap of what we did last Friday. All right. So everyone is on the same page, and then we can continue from here. So let's share the screen super quick. As I mentioned, we didn't do anything in Wized. We didn't do anything in Webflow as well. Everything related to the UI is still left to do, right? We just worked on Supabase. And in Supabase, we created an Edge function to open the Stripe checkout, right? If we go back to my notes that I have here, the idea is that we need to implement a bunch of steps from the moment that the user wants to be a subscriber to the moment that that user is a premium subscriber, right? First of all, and as we explained in the previous live stream, we need to have a customer profile in Stripe because one thing is the user profile that we have in Supabase, and another thing is the customer profile that we want to have in Stripe. And in Stripe, essentially, there's going to be the billing info of the user. There's going to be the credit card info of the user. There's going to be the subscriptions of the user. All of that, it's stored by Stripe, right? Stripe is PCI compliant. They know how to store these things safely. We don't want to mess with this data. So the moment that we want the user to be a subscriber, the easiest approach is to use a Stripe hosted checkout. All right. We could be implementing a custom checkout as well. That's possible. In fact, we do that at FinSuite. If you go to myfinsuite.com and you want to purchase a subscription, you would see that the checkout that we have, it's a custom checkout. But Stripe has a built-in checkout that works out of the box. You don't have to worry about the UI. You don't have to worry about the security. It's conversion ready, conversion friendly, and it works pretty nicely. So we open a checkout. We send the user to that checkout. I'm going to show you now because we did that on the previous live stream. And then after the user has successfully paid, Stripe sends us a webhook notifying of any changes. We can be notified whenever the user has paid a subscription, whenever the user has renewed a subscription, whenever the user cancels a subscription, whenever the user attempts to pay, but for some reason it doesn't go through. We also can get notified about that in case that we wanted to do something like sending an email. We get notifications for mostly all the activity that can happen in Stripe, right? So with this webhook, we get that info and we say, all right, this user just paid. So let's go into Supabase and let's update the database to reflect it. So we know now that the user is a paid user instead of just a free user, right? Hopefully this makes sense. Let me open, 1 second. I want to open Stripe to also show you what we did on the last live stream, which is that we created the product. 1 second. Here. Okay, let's zoom in. So we already created the product, and the product, it's, hold on, it's not in here. This is a different sandbox. 1 second. I want to go to the live stream community forum sandbox. Now, here. Cool, like that. So we created a product. That product, we called it premium membership, and we added one price for now, which is $100 a month. We could be adding different prices. We could have a yearly price. We could have a quarterly price. We could have a discounted price. Like, we could do a lot of things, all right? But simplifying, we created a single $100 per month subscription. And we implemented already the logic to create the checkout and send the user to the checkout. And by the way, we already have a request just for testing that we created in here. So if I call this request, which I just did right before opening this live stream, but let's do it again. If we call this request, you're going to see how we get a URL. And that URL is the Stripe checkout URL that we are generating so the user can pay. So in this case, the user, it's going to be displayed with this screen. It works very nicely in mobile as well, like that. It's very, very simple, but it's very simple to use, and it's very converting as well. And the user can simply add the credit card information, and they can go ahead and pay. That's it. All right. So all of this is done, and this is happening in this edge function that we created the previous live stream. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to put it in VS Code just for the sake of seeing it a bit better, because I'm not a big fan of the editor that we have here in the Supabase dashboard. It's a bit hard to work with. So in here, we're doing a bunch of things. If you want to know exactly what's happening, go ahead and check the previous live stream. But now that we are done with this, now the next step is to build a different edge function so we can start getting notified about things that are happening in Stripe. So as we mentioned in here, this is done. Now it's time to do this. Listen for webhooks and update the Supabase users database, all right? So we want to do that. And to do it, we're going to create a different edge function. So let's come in here. Let's do a new function. We are going to just go ahead via editor, but I don't like editing in here. I'm going to do it in VS Code. So stay with me. Nice, thank you, Gabe. There's a link to the playlist for the forum build in the description where you can find the previous episode. Nice. Okay, cool. So we've got this. Now, I'm wondering if I have the Dino extension, because it probably makes it easier to build. Just wondering. Hold on. Let's enable it for a second. Does it make it easier? It doesn't. All right, it's fine. Let's change then to JavaScript. Actually, no, it's TypeScript. So this should be TypeScript. All right. So in here, in this request, we want to do a bunch of things. We want to, first of all, I want to handle cores as well. So I'm just going to copy and paste everything related to cores. So let's just grab this. And anytime that we are responding, we are going to put cores headers like that. All right. Perfect. But here we are going to be receiving a payload from Stripe. So if you go in, let's say, Stripe webhooks guide, for example, if you wanted to receive events in our webhook endpoint, we've got a full documentation from Stripe. We need to first create a handler, and that handler is the one that will be receiving the event with the payload. This is a node. Let's just use this as an example. So this webhook, as you can see, it's a post request. So we want to handle post request, and we are going to get an event from the body. And this event, we need to validate it, all right? Because Stripe does does provide a way to ensure that the data that you're receiving in this webhook, it's provided by Stripe and not by somebody else. Because imagine that we have a server endpoint where we are receiving events from Stripe, but somebody notices that we've got that endpoint. So they know, like, all right, what if I go ahead and send some data to that endpoint, just faking that I just paid? That could be something that can happen. So Stripe knows about it, and it provides a specific way to validate the data that it's coming using a specific signature. And we're going to get that signature later from the Stripe dashboard. All right. So we want to validate the signature, and then we are going to process the event. So it's coming here, and let's do, if the method is options, then let's do this. Now, if the method is not post, method is not allowed. Thank you, GitHub Copilot. That works. Cool. Like that. So we only want to receive post requests. And from here, we want to validate the signature. So I'm going to need the Stripe SDK. So let's grab that like this. And also, we are going to need to do as well the client. So also let's grab that as well. And because we have now Stripe, we need to initialize Stripe. So let's initialize Stripe exactly as we did in the other function. So we're going to do this. Let's initialize Stripe. And we want to validate the signature that it's coming from here. And if we use this as an example, we have an event, and that event is the body. So probably we want to do, it's request.body, probably. Event request body, maybe? Could be. Yeah, I think that it validates the body directly, I believe. So let's try it. Endpoint secret, we're going to use that endpoint secret. It's probably going to be some environment variable. Yeah, we're going to call that environment variable something. Yeah, sure. And so in here, we want to do signature. We're going to get the request signature that it's coming from a header that it's called Stripe signature. So let's do this. Let's do signature. Thank you, Copilot. You already know this. And then we are going to try to, let's see. Yeah, if there is no event or no signature, let's return a 400. That's good. Actually, let me get rid of this, and let me get rid of this for now, like that, because that's only responding. Now let's verify the Stripe event, and probably Copilot will know how to do this. Thank you, Copilot. Thank you, Copilot. Like that. And if there's an error, we're gonna return a response. Easy. All right, cool. So what's happening here is that we are using the Stripe SDK to call the method that it's called Stripe webhooks construct event. And with this Stripe webhooks construct event, we are passing the event, which is essentially the body. We are passing the signature that we just got from the headers. And then also we are passing a secret that we're going to create now when we go back to the Stripe dashboard. All right. If for some reason Stripe fails to validate this, it could mean that somebody is trying to send us data, but that somebody is not Stripe, and we don't want to trust that data, right? But if we reach to this point, at this point, we can trust the data, right? After making this validation. So now that we can trust the data, we can simply say, all right, now that we know the event, and I'm thinking that maybe this should actually be JSON, because request body when doing, because this is an Express.js example. Yeah. Let me see. Do we want to get that as JSON? I think so. So instead of doing request.body, let's do request.json like that. Yeah, I think so. What happens here? Event. Ah, no, no, no. Hold on. No, no. I think that we can validate the body directly here. So let's do this. Let's get rid of this event for now, like that. And let's use Stripe event from now on. So what I'm going to do, just for the sake of seeing what's happening, I'm going to return a response with the Stripe event, just for the sake of seeing what we're getting from Stripe. All right. So let's copy this. Let's go to Supabase and let's deploy it. And I don't want to call this clever worker. So hold on a second. Name, not clever worker. Ah, I don't want to call it like that. Let's delete it. New function. This. And this is going to be called Stripe webhook handler. Like that. Nice. Cool. So this is a Stripe webhook handler's endpoint, and we want to grab that and we want to go to Stripe to define a webhook so Stripe can start sending data to this specific endpoint that we have here. So let's grab this, let's go here, and you want to check for this lower section called developers. And in this lower section, we're going to go to webhooks because we want to create a new event destination. We're going to pass the endpoint URL that we just created like that. And you could add some description. We want to listen to events on our account. And let's use the latest API version. That's fine. Yeah. And we need to select the specific events that we want to listen to, because there's a lot of events that we could listen to. We could listen events around our account, events about our billing, events about well, a shit ton of things. But we want to go to check the customer subscriptions. So we're going to go to customer and we're going to go to customer subscription created, deleted, paused. Actually, we didn't need, yeah, potentially we could use post as well. But updated. Let's keep it simple for now. Let's do created, deleted, or updated. Like that. Trial, we're not going to use trial. We're not going to be pausing subscriptions, so we don't need to listen for pausing or resuming. And let's see, pending update applied occurs whenever a customer subscription pending update is applied. And this one, pending update expires, occurs whenever a customer subscription pending update expires before the related invoice is paid. Let's not complicate things for now. Let's just keep these three events, all right? Customer subscription created, customer subscription deleted, customer subscription updated, like that. Great, perfect. And here we even get an example on how to implement this in our custom code. So we got the endpoint secret, which we're going to get now. Then post with the webhook, we get the signature. We try to construct the event from the request body like that. And then once the event is constructed, we can start checking for the payload of it. So for example, if the event type is subscription created, then we get the subscription object. If it's updated again, we get the subscription object, blah, 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 right? Great. Endpoint added. It's now waiting for events. Good. Now we need to get this sign-in secret, and we want to grab this and use it as a secret. So now that we've got this, let's go to the edge function and let's go to code. Is it code? Is it details? Where was it? Overview, maybe? Invocations? No, secrets. Here, you want to go to the secret section, and we want to use the same secret name that we defined in here, which is Stripe webhook secret, right? So let's do Stripe webhook secret. We just paste the secret that we just got from Stripe, and we save it. Great. Nice. So this means that we can start checking for let's just start testing things. So I'm going to go here. We're going to go to logs like that. And we want to start testing it. So we may as well just try to purchase something. So what I'm going to do is, let me double check for a second. Let's go to customers. I believe that now we are creating the customers every time that we open the checkout. Yep, all good here. Perfect. So I can go ahead and use this checkout URL that we just generated before. So I'm going to grab this. Let's open a checkout. And the good thing is that because we are using Stripe test mode, we can use test credit cards to try to purchase something. So if you go Google Stripe credit card test, you're going to find this page that is called test card numbers. And here, Stripe provides a bunch of different cards that you can test and expect a specific output. Because maybe you want to test a successful purchase, that's absolutely fine. For example, we could use this one. It's just a test credit card that it's going to work. But maybe you also want to test what happens if the subscription fails. Maybe the user doesn't have enough money. Maybe the user is flagged as a fraudulent user. Maybe there's a dispute. Maybe there is invalid data. All of these things can happen in real life. So Stripe provides different credit cards. So when you use these specific credit cards, it's going to act like this. So if I use this one, it's going to be the chart has a risk level of highest, the radar will block it. Or in here, if we use this credit card, it's going to be marked as fraudulent. Or if we use this credit card, it will be a generic decline. This one, it will be an insufficient funds decline. We can test all the different outcomes that could happen from the checkout. But for now, let's just use it simple. Let's use this one. Number 4242424242, CVC, any 3 digits, date, any future date. All right, so let's go here. Credit card information, this one. Let's do some random date. I don't know, 1226. And here, 123, like that. My name is Alex. I'm from Spain. And I don't need to save my information. Maybe we test it later. All right, cool. So when we pay and subscribe now, what's going to happen is that Stripe will send a webhook event. And that webhook event will be received by Supabase in here. Hopefully it will work. It will work. Let's see. So let's try it out. Pay and subscribe. I don't want to store this credit card. All right, cool. So this was successful. I was redirected to the homepage because that's how we defined it in the previous live stream. I can show you later. And let's see. Let's refresh this. We're gonna see how that event was emitted and it failed. All right. How did it fail? Missing authorization header. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Missing authorization header. Let's see here. Let's refresh for a second. Oh, right, because we didn't log anything. Probably that's why. Invocations. All right, we're not seeing invocations. Let's see. It's saying missing authorization header. And I'm not sure if we are actually returning this from our endpoint. I believe not. Missing authorization header. Missing authorization header. Uh, we'll have to do a bit of back and forth here until we find specifically what's happening. Let's see. Let's see 1 second. This was unauthorized. It tried to send the event, but we received this for one missing authorization header. What's the endpoint again? All right, so the handler is correct. 401 missing authorization header. Oh, right. Hold on. That's because in edge functions, it might be expecting an authorization header. Let's ask the AI system because I want, usually when you create an edge function, it is expected to receive that edge function from the browser because it's sending that. But in this case, it's not sending it because it's coming from Stripe. It's not being called by Supabase. So my question now is, how do we do this without a Supabase authorization header? Let's see. Clear the messages. I am trying to process Stripe webhooks from an edge function, but I am getting a 401 missing authorization header error. Can you help me? Let's see. When processing Stripe webhooks, you need to ensure that your function is correctly handling the incoming request and that it includes the necessary authorization headers. Duh. Uh, Here's a sample edge function that demonstrates how to handle Stripe webhooks, including the necessary authorization header. Yeah, but I don't want it to. This function checks if the request method is post, which is required for Stripe webhooks. It retrieves the authorization header and checks if it's present and correctly formatted. A Supabase client is created via the authorization context. The function processes the incoming JSON payload from Stripe. But Stripe is not sending, it's not including any authorization header in the webhook request. You should not check for. Come on. Sometimes I really hate LLMs. Instead, you can validate the webhook signature. Here's an updated version. Yes, I know this. I know this, but let's see. Allow headers, authorization, client info, server started. Oh, all right. Here, look at this. Found it. Sorry, guys. So in the edge functions, if you go to the details section, you're going to find that there's the function configuration. We've got the name, but also we've got these option here that it's saying enforce JWT verification. Require a valid JWT in the authorization header where invoking the function. Usually you want to do this if you're going to be fetching these requests from the browser, but in our case, we don't want this because this function is being invoked from Stripe. All right, great. Let's see if is this deployed. I'm going to assume that no, so let's deploy it again. And let's try it now. Let's see. One of the good things is that from Stripe, you can, whenever something is failed and you want to test again and again, you can always resend the same event. So let's try to resend this and let's see what happens now. Let's refresh. All right, bad request. That is absolutely fine. At least we've got some advancements here. Good. So we ended up with a 400 bad request. So now it's time to find out why. And a bad request here, it's because it's missing the Stripe signature or it failed to verify the Stripe event. So let's update this just for to know. Let's see, missing striped signature. So we can get better errors and find out exactly what's wrong. Great. Let's format this. Let's deploy it in each function. So let's deploy this. Yep. And let's try it again. Is it deployed? Yes. Resend. Great. Let's wait a couple seconds. And let's see. Still a bad request. Interesting. Bad request. How are we getting a bad request? 400. 400. All right, let's check the logs here. All right. Okay, so we can see the error, what's happening here. It's saying error verifying the Stripe event. Error subtle crypto provider cannot be used in a synchronous context. Mm-mm-mm-mm. I think that I know the issue here. I think that we need to pass in Dino, we need to pass a custom fetcher to do this. So let's try 1 second. Let's see if there's a specific guide for this. Supabase edge functions was Stripe webhooks. Handling Stripe webhooks. Nice. So usually when doing this, we want to get the Stripe, we get this. Okay, so we need to call an additional line. I knew that this was happening because that happens in Dino and it also happens in Cloudflare Workers. Usually when you use this in an environment that it's not Node.js, you need to specify the crypto provider, which is the cryptography library that it's going to be used in this environment. So after creating the Stripe SDK, we want to call this crypto provider. So let's go to our code. Let's put this down here. And all right. And when constructing the event, we want to pass the body, which is supposed to be text. Look at this. I made a lot of mistakes. So this is supposed to be as text. Let's grab it. So here we want to get this body as text. This will be the rig like that. And this will be the body. Yep. And then we pass the signature, which we just got from the headers, exactly like we did in here. Yep. And then we pass the signing secret. We've got that. And then we pass undefined, and then we pass the crypto provider like that. Great. And one of the things that they are doing in this example is that they do construct the event asynchronously. So let's do that as well. So we need to wait like that. Great. Okay. Am I missing anything else? If there is a mistake, we return A400. That's absolutely fine. And event received. I think that now we're done. I think so. Okay. Let's try it again. Let's go to edge functions, code. Let's deploy this. Great. Updated. So let's send this again. Resend. Subscription created. Good. Nice. All right, cool. So now this is successful. This is a good step. This is a nice advancement. And we are getting an object back. So this means that we are getting the Stripe event successfully. Just for the sake of seeing the specific data, if it's coming correctly, let's just respond with a JSON stringify. Deploy. We're going to send it again just for the sake of checking it. 1, 2, 3, reload. Nice. All right, cool. So this is the data that it's coming in here. And the data that it's coming, as you can see, it contains a bunch of things. It contains the event in case that you wanted to track exactly the specific event that happened. We also can see the API version. We can see when it was created. And then also we can see the data that it's coming. And in this particular case, because we're listening for subscription webhooks, we are getting the subscription object from it. So this has data, and then it has an object, and this object is the subscription object. So it has a subscription ID like that. Let me show you, which is pointing to the membership subscription that I paid for. It includes everything related to the billing cycle, when it's supposed to be canceled, and how it was charged. It also includes the customer ID, so it's the customer profile from Stripe. Um, it also includes the items in case that we wanted to check for the things that the subscription includes, because it could potentially include multiple products. But in this case, it just contains one item, which is the price that we defined, which is this price for the premium membership, like that. And it also includes one very important thing, which is the status of it. So if I find it, let me see here, status. And as you can see right now here, the status is active. But be careful, because there are many different statuses in Stripe. It could be active, it could be canceled, it could be on trial, it could be um, it's it has tried to renew it, but it failed paying for. So I think that it's on pause, or I forgot the word, but like there's different statuses, and we want to make sure that we handle those statuses, because only people who are active with their subscription are the ones that are actively paying for it, and everything is validated. So the users who are with an active subscription are the users who we want to handle, right? For example, if I came here to the checkout, let's create a different checkout. Is this creating a different checkout? Yes. If I create a different checkout, and now I pay with a credit card that it's gonna be failing. So let's use something like a decline payment. Let's use an insufficient funds decline. No, let's use some. Well, yeah, let's try this one like this. If we do this, let's do 1226 123 Alex Spain. If I pay with this, all right, this one is giving it's failing. Let's do one that is marked as fraudulent, for example. Or let me see 1 second. Are we gonna get a webhook from this? No, not yet. Let's try one that it's fraudulent. So let's do this one. Let's see. Okay, the client. Ah, which one do I use? Rate limits, cards by brand, HSA, FSA. Simulating transactions using health saving accounts. No. Invalid data, refunds. 3D secure authentication. Let's try this one. I think that this one will require authentication. Yes. And if I fail it, it's probably going to fail the payment. We're unable to authenticate, and probably I'm not going to be receiving a webhook here. No. All right. We'll check it later. It's fine. Let's use this one, but let's authenticate it. In here, yes, complete. And this means that we're going to get another webhook, hopefully. At this point, I'm creating a shit ton of subscriptions. Yeah. All right. Cool. So now that we're getting this info is coming from it's included here in the Stripe event. So now we want to do things about it, right? We want to do a bunch of things. So first of all, we probably want to handle, depending on if the subscription is created, updated, deleted, etc. But the easiest thing that we could do right now is just go ahead and send the info of that subscription to the app metadata field in the user. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a bunch of fields. And by the way, I asked I asked an LLM before, and here are a bunch of fields that we could be grabbing. We could grab the status, the price ID I want to get, and the subscription ID as well. Potentially the customer ID, although the customer ID, now we already have the customer ID. When it expires, yeah, let's do a bunch of things. So we're going to do app metadata. This is going to be a subscription, and the subscription will include the ID. Yes. Stripe event.data.object ID. Good. The status. Nice. And the price. I don't want to use the plan. I'm going to use the price. I'm going to use the price essentially because I think that the plan field is deprecated. I think. So we've got the items, and in the items, there's the plan, right? Yeah. But this plan, I think that it is still deprecated. Plan ID. Hold on, let me check something. Is it deprecated or is it still supported? Let's go to subscriptions. Let's check the subscription object. Subscriptions, the subscription object. More attributes. Yeah, the plan it's not even listed in here. Status. Yeah, look at this. The status could be possible values: incomplete, incomplete, expired, trialing, active, past due, canceled, unpaid, unpaused. So there's different things that could happen. Metadata, latest invoice, items. No, yeah, I think that it's fine. We should look for the items and the items data. It's an array of objects, and in here, I think that there's the price, and they don't list the plan. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the plan is deprecated. So I want to do this app metadata with the ID, the status, and the price. Let's also grab the expires at. Expires at. Current period end. Yeah, good. But I only want to get this if the status is active. Is active. We're going to check for this. If it's active, we're going to do this. Otherwise, I'm going to put it as null. So essentially, when we check for the app metadata in the user, if there's a subscription object, good, that means that the subscription is active. If there's no subscription, then it means that there's no subscription, and that's it. So, perfect. So we want to update the user profile, the user's metadata, to include this. So what I'm going to do is follow the same process that we did in the other Edge function, which is I'm going to create a Supabase admin client. Let me do this. Supabase admin client, like that. And with the Supabase admin client, I want to update a user by ID, like that. And when updating the user by ID, I want to pass in the app metadata, the subscription of the user. So let me grab this, but you're going to see now that we are going to be missing the user ID. We need it. So here I'm going to do this, but the problem is that we don't have the user ID yet. Or do we? Because if you remember in the previous live stream, we were syncing the users and customers from Stripe, so both have relationships between them. If I go to Stripe and I check for the event, you are gonna see that inside the event we get a customer field. This, and if we open the customer, which in this case it's me, you're gonna see how in the metadata of the customer we've got the Supabase user ID already stored. So all we want to do is in here, we want to get the Stripe customer. So in this case, this is the customer ID. Yes, if there's no customer ID, let's return some error that it's good. And we're gonna get the customer like that. Nice. But hold on, there's a mistake in here. We want to check for the customer metadata. We want to check for the customer metadata, and the field that we called, it's Supabase user UID. Boom. Whoops. Supabase user UID, like that, right? So now we've got the customer, and we know that in the customer there is the Supabase user ID. So let me grab this. Let's see, user ID, customer metadata, Supabase user ID, like that. Nice. And now we can use this user ID to go ahead in here and update the user ID to pass in the app metadata. We want to pass what we did in here, which is this. So let me grab this. Yeah, I'm going to move this down. Let's put it in here. And we're going to put this in here, like that. Let's format for a second. This is becoming a bit chaotic. Oh, good. So if there's an error, yeah, fine. Otherwise, we're going to return the data like that. Perfect. So let's do a recap, because I think that I went a bit fast in this section. After we have validated the Stripe event, we are getting from the Stripe event payload, we are getting the customer ID that it's coming from Stripe. We are retrieving the customer profile from Stripe, and we are getting the Supabase user UID metadata field that we defined when opening the checkout. And with this user ID, we are updating that user ID in Supabase to pass the app metadata for with the subscription property. If it's active, we store the subscription. If it's not active, we simply, for now, we're just going to return this as null. That's absolutely fine, like that. All right? Great. So if we go ahead and deploy this, I think that we did it correctly, I think. Perfect. So let's try to send this again. And when I send this again, we should see how in Supabase, our user profile here should have the app metadata updated with the subscription. So let's try it out. Let's resend this. Now it's resent. Nice. Let's see. It was successful, and we got the user with the app metadata with the subscription. Look at this. Nice. Great. Perfect. And if we refresh this, let's refresh it. Look at this. Good. So now in the app metadata, we are getting the subscription. And because now we are getting the subscription in the app metadata, if I go to Wized and I call the get user request again, we should see how it includes the subscription. Yay! Nice. Which means, again, that now we could, for example, create a variable that it says is premium user or is premium. Yeah, let's see. It is premium user. And in this case, this could potentially be a get user subscription, like that, like this. Because if there is a subscription, it means that it is true. So as you can see here, now is premium user, it's equal to true. Good. Let's make it computed like that. And now if, for example, I go to Stripe and let's go to the customer Let me close a bunch of things. And in my customer, I cancel the subscriptions. So let's cancel both subscriptions because I created two. This one is canceled. This one is canceled as well. Perfect. And if we check the webhooks, hopefully it will say that it was successful. Yes. And as you can see now, the event is coming as customer subscription deleted. Um, and look at that. So now app metadata, it doesn't include the subscription because it was removed. Because in the handler, if the subscription is not active, right? Because the subscription that we are receiving from the request object, which let's see, items, data, none, in the status, where is it? Status. Here. So in the status, this is coming as canceled. Canceled means that is not active, and when it is not active, we are simply just passing null as the add metadata in the subscription. That's it. Easy enough, right? So this means that we can start implementing logic here in Wized and also in role level security policies in Stripe to make sure that only so users who are premium are the only allowed to read, for example, some premium category. That could be the case, right? So what should we do? Because we got 7 minutes. We've got 7 minutes. And all of this is done. So probably we could potentially start. By the way, if I refresh this, we should now see how it's not premium user because I canceled the subscription. So perhaps we could start working on having a premium category in here, right? And inside the premium category, we could validate if the user is premium or not, redirect them to the checkout in case that they are not allowed to be reading things, etc. Yeah, that could work. What else should we do for premium users other than having a category? We'll see. Let's just build things because I only have 5 minutes. But then I think that most of the logic for the front end, we will have to do it on the next live stream. So new category, let's call this premium. Premium. What can we do for premium? Maybe we could do money. Yeah, like it. Oh, premium money. I want to grab this. Thank you. Yeah, fine. Premium. And we need a Supabase ID, which means that we need to create it in our database. So let's go to the table editor. Let's go to categories. Let's call another category here. And this is going to be, the slug will be premium. The name will also be like this. If you're confused about why do we have categories both in Supabase and in Webflow, you can go ahead and check out previous live streams because we built that system. Yeah, I think that's it. Great. So the Supabase ID, it's 6. Yep, all good. Publish now. Perfect. So here, premium, and also it's the first one. Lovely. Great. And now, so if we refresh this, let's publish. Let's publish 1 second. Oh, this is done already. So if we go to premium in here, what I want to do is I don't want to allow users to create a post if they are not a premium user. So ideally, this button would say subscribe if they are trying to access to create a post, and also if they are trying to list the posts but they are not a premium user, I also want to display some kind of um, call to action saying, hey, you are trying to access a premium category. If you want to read and post in this category, you have to make a purchase. You have to subscribe to the premium plan. Yeah, I like it. Cool. And then also we will have to do another thing that it's we want users to be able to cancel the subscription, right? So whenever they go to their profile, they should have some button, maybe next to my activity, something like my subscription. And when clicking on that, we're going to send them to the Stripe billing portal, which is another thing similar to the Stripe checkout, that it's hosted by Stripe. And essentially, it's a billing portal that Stripe provides where the customer can go and they can manage their subscription. So they can change the payment method, they can potentially cancel or change the plan if there are multiple offerings. They can see the billing history, they can download invoices. I think that we can also do like upselling and cross selling as well. So if they want to cancel the plan, we can prompt them like, hey, instead of canceling, do you want to get this other subscription, or do you want to get a discount? We could do a bunch of things like that. Uh, that is cool. So I think that that's happening in the next live stream, because I think that we should end it in here. So next live stream, what's going to happen is that we're going to build what I mentioned, and in the UI, we're going to gate the premium category only for users who are premium. We are going to add a bunch of call to actions to prompt people to go ahead and pay. And then also in the account, we're going to add a way for people to manage the subscription. So they can go and cancel the subscription, change the payment methods, blah, blah, blah. All right. And then we will be done. I think that we can make this happen in one more live stream. And it did. And I think that it will be time to release this as a production ready project, I think. Nice. All right. People, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'm going to check them and try to answer them in the next live stream. For everyone who has come here today, I really appreciate it. I appreciate taking you taking the time of watching all the live streams and being here with me. Thank you, Silso. Appreciate it. If you're watching this from the future, I don't know why I'm saying this now, because this is the end of the live stream, but probably you will have timestamps, all right? So you can skip through everything. But we are at the end of the video. So if you're watching this from the future, you probably already watched the video. So anyways, see you next Friday. We're going to finish this and it's going to be cool. Everyone have a good weekend. Thank you all. Goodbye.